What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to this week's Transfer Talk podcast here on Anfield Agenda. It's just two of us this week. It's just myself and Dave because with the good weather, people being on their holidays, people working, Dave, it's tough to nail people down, so it's just me and you, buddy.
And it coming home?
Football's coming home as well. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. I mean, I neglected to forget that England are winning the World Cup this year, so...
Yeah, so they can be forgiven. They can be forgiven. Look, leave it to the Paddies. We have nothing to be really shouting for. So
I think a few English people, though, Dave, have been a little bit surprised that we're almost getting behind them to an extent, or we're not begrudging them a few wins anyway.
I think it's more not begrudging them, yeah. I wouldn't say we're necessarily, cheering them from the rafters or anything like that, but it's kind of like, I think it's a lot to do with Henderson. Once Henderson's in that team as well, you just want to see Jordan do well because, look, he's not only is he a fantastic footballer, but he seems like a good guy. So yeah, look, I'd love to see Jordan Henderson and of course Trent go far on it. Apart from that, my money's on Brazil, so of course I want to see them do it.
You'd want to be some hard bastard though to not want England to win a penalty shootout finally.
No, exactly, and that could be a good omen for them. That'll put a hell of a lot of confidence into them as well, because that's the first time ever at a World Cup they've actually won a shootout. I think the last one was it Spain in '96 at Wembley for the Euros?
Yeah, it was the first ever time in a World Cup, I think, that they've won a penalty shootout.
Yeah, I put a lot of belief into them. But look, take nothing away from Southgate. He's doing a fantastic job there, and he actually seems like a decent fella as well. So look, good luck to them. Look, they have a tough game against Sweden, but I think they can beat them.
The bad news keeps coming though, Dave, because the first topic I want to have a chat about is the Liverpool goalkeeper situation. And look, I was all for bringing in a new keeper. I was convinced that the club were going to be out there working behind the scenes to bring in an Alisson, a Donnarumma or somebody else. But then the Echo today dropped the bombshell that they believe Liverpool may well start the season with KARIUS as the number one.
I personally think it's a smokescreen. I also personally think that the Echo have got a lot of things wrong recently. So I'm not looking too much into it, to be perfectly honest with you. Bogdan obviously has gone. And as I said, we said this last night on YouTube with Danny Ward. I can't see him being happy and staying as an under-23 keeper for the rest of the season. And I can't see Simon Mignolet there for the rest of the season. So, or even, when he comes back from the World Cup, I can see him gone straight away. So where does that? You can't just have one keeper, and as I said, the likes of, Queeving Kelleher, kind of on the, from the under 23s, or Kamal Gabara, whoever it might be. Them lads aren't ready to take that step up yet. Now I could be wrong. Gabara or Grabara, so I would probably be the closest one. But to me, I think it's a smokescreen because I just think with who's going to be leaving the club, there has to be a keeper that comes in.
I have the same thoughts. I'm thinking, as you've just said, Ward looks like he may well move on. He's not going to get a chance. Klopp clearly doesn't rate him, if we're being honest, because he didn't give him any game time. Mignolet is already making noises that he wants to move on because no matter what happens, he isn't going to be the number one. Best case scenario for him is number two. I think he's 31 years of age at this point.
Yeah.
He's going to want game time, isn't he? He's getting into the twilight of his career. Although, look, a goalkeeper can go to 36, 37, even longer, but he's going to want game time.
Of course he is. Yeah, he's what is he? Is he 30, Mignolet? Yeah, I think he's 30. He could be 31. You can see Mignolet, and look, there has been no links with anyone. Apart from, I think Lazio was a quiet link, but I could see him in the likes of Germany over here, maybe at, let's say, a Wolfsburg or a Bremen or something like that. A mid to higher tier German team, I think will be his limit, because look, let's be honest. I've had this debate with Mignolet for years about his, everyone saying he's a good shot stopper. That's goalkeeping 101. Yeah, every goalkeeper should be a good shot stopper. It's as simple as that. Grobbelaar was right. He's like Dracula. He's afraid of crosses. He's not the standard we need at Liverpool Football Club, even as a number two, because you want a number two to be pushing your number one to the edge, and eventually your number one to be getting a bit of game time as well and a bit of healthy competition. Mignolet doesn't offer that.
If I think back, I think I remember a link to Napoli, perhaps, for Simon Mignolet at one point. Now, I don't know if that link would still be there, but Pepe Reina has moved on to AC Milan, so there's certainly a gap in the Napoli goalkeeping department.
I think that's going to be it's going to be a domino effect, and I think we'll really will start seeing it now. It's 4th of July today. We have a month and how many days until the transfer window in the UK or England, sorry, closes. And I think one significant transfer somewhere is going to start the domino effect, and I really do think you'll start seeing things moving there.
It being the 4th of July, I suppose it's only right that we wish Happy Independence Day to anybody listening in the US of A. We hope you have a wonderful day. I know you're probably listening to this. It's going to be over by the time you hear this, but look, just that, you know, we were thinking of you. We do wish you well. But getting back to the goalkeeper situation, I can't believe the likes of Gianluigi Donnarumma is available. Oblak possibly available. Alisson most certainly available. Courtois looking to move on. And as you said, one move could create a domino effect. And Courtois seems to be the start of that domino effect for me, because he's got 1 year left on his contract to Chelsea. He's made no secret of the fact that he wants to go and play in Madrid. And I don't particularly think he gives a shit where in Madrid. He just seems to want to move back there. So if that happens, that would suit Real Madrid much more than buying Alisson, because they're probably going to get a keeper for half the price with 1 year left on his contract. And we've heard murmurings today as well about Real Madrid. Well, they've denied both interest in Neymar and Mbappe. So one of them you probably think is true. So they're going to be looking to fill that goalkeeper situation on the cheap. So he well could be the key to everything moving.
Correct. I absolutely agree with you. Let's say he goes to Atletico, for example. And I've mentioned this a good few times that Oblak is stalling on a new deal. So where does that leave Oblak? Who's going to come in next? Courtois not going to come into Atletico as a number 2. No way is Courtois going to go to Atletico as a number 2. If he goes to Real, then Navas is going to be on the market because he doesn't want to be number 2. So this is where the domino effect happens. You can really see about 10 to 15 different goalkeepers moving clubs, excuse me, this transfer window in the next few weeks. It really could be that many.
We spoke already about Pepe Reina going to AC Milan. Now, he's not going to want to go to AC Milan and sit on the bench.
Correct. Yeah, Donnarumma, Pepe Reina is not a number 2. He's still a very good goalkeeper, albeit he's left Liverpool a good few years ago. Where does that leave Donnarumma? Yeah, because Donnarumma doesn't want to be a number 2 either. So,
I think as you said, there's going to be 1 or 2 moves that trigger this, and I hope to God that somewhere in that domino effect, Liverpool are in there trying to bring in a keeper. Because as you've rightly said, if we're allowing for the fact that Simon Mignolet is moving on, and we're thinking that possibly Ward is moving on, and that one of the younger guys, Kevin Kelleher or Guevara, isn't quite capable of stepping up yet, maybe a little bit too early for them, then common sense dictates that we're going to have to sign a goalkeeper. Obviously, Bogdan has joined Hibs as well, so we're going to be left short. So then you're in the, I suppose you're down to the situation where do you buy a number 2 who is probably just going to be an absolute fucking waste of money because he's not going to do anything, or do you look to improve and challenge Karius and bring somebody in there that we know can possibly fill that position for the next 5 or 6 years?
That's right. And the thing is as well, you can look at that 2 ways. Klopp doesn't really like wasting money. Even though it's not his money, he does, unless it's someone, I wouldn't say wasting money, but he doesn't mind spending big on the absolute 100% correct player. But he's not, I don't think he's going to spend silly money on a number 2 who's just going to be a stopgap for a very short period of time. But also, Klopp he puts a lot of faith into players as well. Maybe too much sometimes, in my opinion. We know kind of the feedback he gives, with certain players when maybe they're not doing well. And of course, let's look with the likes of Lovren. That's really helped him, and Lovren has come on leaps and bounds since Klopp has come in there. But he's come up, he's backing Karius, he's backing his player, which is a right thing to do. But I wonder what's being discussed behind closed doors there with Loris Karius, because I get the personal feeling as well that Karius wouldn't mind being number 2, maybe being out of the spotlight for a period of time. And again, that leads me, even cements my opinion more that Liverpool are in for a goalkeeper.
If we push the goalkeeper situation aside and move on to a player, that has been the story of this transfer window so far, without a shadow of a doubt, and that's Nabil Fekir. It's gone a little bit quiet on Lyon's side. Johnny Cuntilocks hasn't really had too much to say lately, but a couple of journals and a few other people have been speaking. I think a French football expert by the name of Robin Barner, excuse me, this is probably a fancy French way of pronouncing that name, but he's Barner to me. He suggested that Liverpool could still sign the Frenchman. The Echo have apparently made further comments, and Lyon coach Bruno Genesio has said that if there's a possibility, like with Liverpool, Nabil will certainly seize the opportunity once both parties agree. So no matter what way Liverpool try and calm this situation down, Dave, there is still an awful lot out there suggesting that that Fekir deal is still up in the air and still entirely possible.
Yeah, I think what really gave me a lot of confidence was what his coach said, because his coach actually mentioned Liverpool as well. He goes, if Nabil makes the move to Liverpool, he will seize this opportunity. Coaches don't really talk about other clubs unless they're, unless they know something astonishingly more than, which obviously they do, than we do. But that gave me a lot of confidence today reading that. I just think with the World Cup, it's impossible to say, and especially from what I suppose with Didier Deschamps, for example, he will not let any other source or any other kind of distract into that French dressing room at all. So again, it's going back to where was that deal left? I have my opinion on it. I think the deal was very close, apart from maybe a couple of or a second opinion on a medical. And I think Olas is kind of maybe, how would I say it? He's kind of maybe panicked a bit, maybe thinking we were going to pull out because of this knee situation, but I didn't think we were. What we're led to believe as well is Klopp really, really wants Fekir. And once Klopp kind of sets his mind and his target and his agenda on someone, he usually gets them. He doesn't really settle for anyone else. We've seen it with Van Dijk. We've seen it with Keita. So it does still install me with confidence, but you're right, it is still up in the air, and it's going to be up in the air until we get an absolute definitive from either Liverpool or Fekir. I don't think we have to get a definitive from Lyon. It's going to be from the player or from LFC.
Everything that's coming from Lyon suggests that they're really fixed with moving the player on. I mean, you've heard Aulas come out and say that there's been interest from Manchester United. He was trying to drum up interest from Real Madrid before that. It seems like he's just trying to bait Liverpool into coming back to the table to negotiate.
Yeah, it does seem that way. And I think the club, Liverpool and Edwards and whoever kind of manages the transfer situation, we're good for that. We're not going to fall for that. Like, Aulas is not a very good poker player. He obviously wants Fekir off his books as quick as it is possible as well. Why? I don't know what Lyon's financial situation is or anything like that, but it does lead me to believe that they are in need of a few quid. And obviously he came through the academy. They're not paying him a massive wage. So if they got 60, what we're led to believe, let's say 60 million quid for Fekir, that's a huge bonus for Lyon, who can go out there and buy, maybe 2 to 3 really good players for the French league that would kind of help them as well and push them on, because they're back in the Champions League this year, aren't they?
Lyon, yeah, I believe they are, if I remember correctly. So who went through there? Did Marseille miss out? I think Marseille are the ones who missed out on the last day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was Marseille. So look, they're in a stronger competition. They were obviously in the Europa League. I think they were in the Europa League last season. I could be wrong again, sorry, but they weren't in the Champions League anyway.
No, I think they went out at the quarter-final stages, I think, of the Europa League.
Europa League, there you go. If they're in the Champions League, they're obviously going to want to get out of the group stages in that. As we know, the Champions League is a hell of a lot harder than the Europa League. So Nabil Fekir could be, and I'll use inverted commas, a luxury player for them, where they could bring in 2 or 3 lads who could really bolster that squad, give them more freshness and give them more steel where they need it as well.
If I think back, I'm trying to remember Lyon's European season. Again, I could be way off the mark here, but I have a funny feeling they may have lost the Champions League playoff.
You could be right as well. I'm not sure. I haven't a clue, to be honest with you. All I know is they've qualified this year. It was 2 seasons ago when Ajax beat them in the semi-finals. It was a cracking game in the Europa League. But I couldn't tell you about their European journey the season just gone. Couldn't tell you.
One player who has definitely arrived in Merseyside and is a player that shocked many of us when he came in is Fabinho. And I've liked some of the comments I've seen from him and his wife on social media, but something that I've liked even more, Dave, was a few comments he made. I think it was today anyway, but on the Liverpool website he said, "The manager said I might play in a few different positions, but the plan is to use me in midfield and I'm available wherever he needs me." He said he told me the calendar in England is demanding and that he needs players like me. It was a huge honour to hear it. Such a compliment that he wanted me to move my career to Liverpool. The day I signed was party day. My wife and I were both smiling at everything. I was really anxious during all of the negotiations, so when it was time for me to sign the contract, I couldn't have been happier. A dream come true. When I was doing the medical exams, I couldn't stop asking people, when does it finally become official? You don't sign for one of the biggest clubs in the world every day, you know. They are comments that come from somebody who's clearly over the moon to be a Liverpool footballer.
And remember as well, this guy signed for, did he sign for Real Madrid?
Yes, I think you could be spot on there. I think a very early move in his career, I think.
That's right. That's right, yeah. So I think he knows, you know what,
Dave, we could have got a shitload wrong on this podcast, buddy. There could be people out there tonight going, "Do these idiots know anything?"
But we don't know anything. I think this is the beauty about us. We know fuck all. So
I mean, we're making up a pretendy brand of drink to sponsor us on the YouTube, like Diet Chav. So I mean, if we're making up drinks, at least you can expect that we're going to make up moves or players' names or ages or something. I think that's only fair.
I think he had one game. I know he signed from, is it Rio Avenue, and then he went to Madrid. So he knows what it's like to sign for a big club. Now, in fairness, Monaco aren't a small club either, but Real, look, they're huge. Arguably one of the biggest sides in the world. So he has that experience of coming in, but he also has the experience of not making it at a huge club. So I think that really does play into our hands as well, where Fabinho is going to seize the opportunity. He can play right back. He can play kind of that anchor in midfield as well, which I think Klopp has particularly signed him for. But he does give you a few options. The stories or his interviews as well, he does seem like a very genuine, down-to-earth guy. There's kind of, there's absolute delight for himself and his missus when they signed. And it's kind of one of these ones where he obviously has Firmino there as well as there's another Brazilian. And yeah, I think Klopp is a fantastic salesman at kind of given his ideas to the very, very core of what he expects and why he wants a player to come in. And as we know, the transfer was done. The media I think the media knew, let's say, at 7:30, and at 9 o'clock that night he had signed.
Yeah, they kept it very late. Actually, at this point, I feel I should probably let listeners into something. When we were talking about Fabinho there, you said that he came from Rio Avenue. And in my head, after that, all I heard was, "We're gonna rock down to Rio Avenue, and then we'll take you higher." And that's all I heard the rest of the time you were talking. That was just repeating in my head over and over and over again. So welcome to the wonderful world of Craig. This is why sometimes I get things wrong, because my mind, Dave, goes off in a very strange direction.
It's allowed, mate.
Just looking back on
artistic license.
That's it. I'm in charge. I'm allowed to say what I want. But
exactly.
But look, I'm looking back through the comments again, and he said, when a club like Liverpool wants you, you just pack your bags and go. It's an honour to wear the famous red shirt. I mean, things like this just endear them to fans even more. And I know it's all part of the game and stuff, but it's still good to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, and the thing with Fabinho as well, he's a championship winning player in France. So he does have that experience in winning a league, which is, that experience in itself is absolutely massive. Now, yeah, I think I've just checked. He played one game for Real Madrid, but he was at the B team. What is it called? Castilla, something like that, for all of his Madrid career. But he would have seen things at a huge club like that, the way things go on. So I really do think we have a really, really good football player on our books here now. He's going to be there for hopefully a very, very long time as well, anchoring that midfield. And if he has to come in for Trent at right back as well now and again, fine, no problem. But I'm delighted he signed. I think he's a cracking footballer.
He also went on to say that he had a few conversations with Roberto Firmino about life in Liverpool, and he said when we were close to finalising the deal, Roberto started giving me some tips about life in the city. He told me Liverpool's a fantastic place, just a little cold every now and again. And you know what? That's probably honest, but fair play to Bobby for trying to get that one done.
Good man, Bobby is right. Yeah, you just need to keep Moreno now on the books to keep Bobby happy. He's kind of like a vicious circle, but there you go.
One more little piece of transfer news today was Liverpool look like they're signing a young right back from Ajax. I think it is 16-year-old kid. Is he 16 or 17? 16,
yeah. Now, if we have any Dutch listeners, my Dutch is hopeless, but look, I'll try to pronounce his name. It's K-Hiana Huve.
It's no accident that I left the name pronunciation to you, Dave. I mean, I failed you the line there and just let you run with it.
You did. Cheers, mate. But apparently, Chelsea, United, City were all interested in him. He was at Kirby, I think, for the week, and it looks like, he's going to sign one for the academy, hopefully he'd be a good player. One for the future. I couldn't tell you anything about him apart from he's a young man with hopefully a big future.
On the little bit of research I've done on him, it said he's a Netherlands under-16 international. He's been on the books at Ajax since 2014, and before that he was in the youth setup at AZ Alkmaar. So look, 16 years of age, we probably won't be seeing him anytime soon, but we're on a transfer podcast, so I suppose it's only right that we give you any little bit of transfer news that we can. The main part of this show today, Dave, these things all popped up in between the time we made the agenda and now, but the main part of the show today was going to be about players who we think may leave Liverpool Football Club this summer, or players who we think may be on the fringe of leaving Liverpool Football Club this summer. So I had a little look through the players that I think might be leaving. So I'm going to shout you off a list of people I think might be up for debate, and let me know if you think any of these guys shouldn't be on the list. So we've got Divock Origi. Happy enough with him?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Dominic Solanke?
No.
Simon Mignolet?
Absolutely.
Sturridge?
Yeah, unfortunately,
Moreno?
yeah, but yes, Moreno, yeah.
Joel Matip?
No.
Marco Grujic?
Alone.
Adam Lallana?
No.
Ben Woodburn?
Alone.
And Lazar Markovic.
What time am I picking him up?
Right. So I'm going to go through these, and there's a couple of these who are out of contract. They're going into the last year of their contract. So the players who are going into the final year of the contract are Divock Origi, Alberto Moreno, Daniel Sturridge, and Lazar, what time am I picking him up at, Markovic? So taking that into account, the club are going to have to either move these players on, loan them out and pay like it right off the last year of the contract. So I think Origi is probably the most interesting one we can have a chat about, him and Daniel Sturridge. So both forwards, both at different parts of the career obviously, but Divock Origi, what the hell do Liverpool do in this situation? 1 year to go on his contract. He hasn't torn up any trees. You've seen him over there playing for Wolfsburg this season. Wasn't shit hot. Did okay towards the end of the season. Scored a couple of goals. Helped them stave off relegation in the playoff. He just doesn't do it for me, Dave.
He doesn't do it for me either, mate. I think from watching him a bit more closely at Wolfsburg this season, I just don't think the lad's he's intelligent enough to play for Liverpool Football Club. I don't think he's certainly not intelligent enough to play in a Klopp system, because the players who Klopp has and who we have, are very tactically astute, and I don't think Origi is that. Yes, he's very raw, he's quick, and he's certainly a powerful young lad. But when it comes to the system we play, I don't think it's just going to work for him, and it's certainly not going to work for Liverpool, which is the most important thing. I'd be very surprised if he's there come the 10th of August when the transfer window's closed. But you never know, unless he has a huge pre-season. Remember, he's a very young guy as well. Could be a very good learner. He's coming back and he's certainly saying, look, I learned a lot at Wolfsburg and I'm coming back a more mature player. Well, do your talking on the pitch, son, and put in a good pre-season. And if he does, we could have a decent backup player in our hands. But also on the flip side, if he does have a very good pre-season, it could give us more revenue when it comes to transferring him out.
With only having 1 year left on his contract, though, I'd be worried that if we did give him a chance, I mean, you'd want to be tying him down to a new contract before the season starts if you think you're going to keep him on board. But even trying to move him on, to get any type of a fee from with just 1 year left on his contract, and obviously, as you said, somebody who probably isn't top of many clubs in Europe's lists for strikers, I find that would be I'd probably see another loan deal there for him with his contract just running down.
And getting, he probably isn't even a huge earner at the club, but what is he? Is he 23? I think so. He's not a spring. He's not a young lad anymore. I think he was born in 95. So I don't know what happens there regarding, let's say, with FIFA's rule that under 24s, if they move free from a club, the club that he's with, let's say, or contracted to, still get a fee. Does it be set by a tribunal? So I'm not sure what happens there.
Yeah, I'm always unsure about that rule as well. I know it's to do with him being developed at a club and stuff, but I'm not sure if he has to be a bit younger when he started his development. But anyway, as you said, it'll be interesting to see. Moving down the list a little bit, another player who we were speaking about was Daniel Sturridge now. He went to West Brom. I think he'd one start,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. And again, I could be wrong on that one, but he certainly did fuck all during the 6-month loan spell he had there at the end of the season. It's going to be tough to get his 120 to 150k a week off the books.
Yeah, the only way we're going to do that is if he goes on loan without a loan fee being paid, and just hopefully then he stays maybe fit for a season and plays okay football, and the club there he goes to sign him maybe in January or something like that. I don't know, but he's a big earner at the club. It would certainly free up a lot of wage. I just don't see a future for the lad. I don't think Klopp trusts him enough as well, and I don't think he has the fitness to play in a Klopp system, because it's hard playing in a Klopp system with the pressing that we do, with the tracking back, with the breaking from deep, that kind of thing. And I don't think Sturridge's legs have anything left to give Klopp. So the best we could hope for is if either he's a sweetener in a deal, or we send him out on loan and the loan club pay his wages and we just let him go on a free then.
The final player that we're going to have a little chat about in that last year of his contract is probably the most interesting one on the list, and that's Alberto Moreno. He seems to be a player, Dave, that Klopp doesn't mind having around the club. He's probably had a couple of opportunities to move him on, but he's still there, and he has at times used him more, I suppose, when we're trying to push forward, or when we're trying to move to three at the back and pushing a wider player out to try and overload on both sides when we're chasing the game. But Klopp seems to have some trust in him.
Yeah, he does. I certainly don't trust him as a left back, but let's say, as you said there, a left wing back where he's more attacking and he's more kind of someone's covering him, let's say on the left hand side. He's certainly a quick lad, and he certainly doesn't mind. I know he hasn't got too many goals, but he likes to attack. He's a decent crosser of the ball as well, but he just can't defend to save his life. I think he could be a decent squad player to come on maybe, and give fresh legs. He certainly seems very fit, and as I said, quick as well. So if we're struggling against it doesn't matter who it is, but let's say we're struggling against someone we're finding it a bit difficult to break down, he could be a lad to bring on in the last 15 minutes and see, can he change a game by whipping in a few balls or just being a bit more direct. But apart from that, that's as far as I go with Alberto Moreno. He certainly doesn't start any games for me.
One thing I think it's probably a little bit easy to overlook when we're talking about these players perhaps is the impact that they have on the dressing room. And speaking with Alberto Moreno, I imagine he's quite fun, and I imagine he's quite lively, and I think he'd probably be a good influence on that Liverpool squad.
Yeah, it's like the time when we signed Kolo Touré. A lot of people saying, why the hell did we sign him? Yeah, he's got a lot of experience, but Colo's meant to be absolutely fantastic around the dressing room. And if a player can give you, if you're having, let's say, a rough period or something like that, and the likes of Moreno, he's a bubbly guy. He likes to have a laugh in a nice way. I don't think he takes the piss or anything. That's a huge impact on the dressing room. You do want positive people at your football club who can give you a lift. So yeah, he's meant to be very good friends with Bobby Firmino. So if he keeps Bobby happy, I'd keep him there for that reason alone, because I think Bobby's one of the most important players Liverpool have had in a very long time.
And I suppose moving along to somebody probably at the other end of the scale in regards to their footballing career is Marco Grujic. I think you said when we went through the names earlier on, you'd loan him out. He's contracted with Liverpool for another 2 years, 2020. So what I'd personally like to see done if we're going to loan him out, and I agree with you, by the way, I think a loan move for him is probably the most suitable thing. I'd like to see him perhaps sign a new contract before we send him out. So maybe we extend him by 2 more years. And maybe send them out somewhere like Lazio. I mean, I think Lazio will probably be a great move for him out there. He's got Lucas Leiva, obviously, to learn from. He's got Milinkovic-Savic, his national teammate there. Well, how long will he still be at Lazio? I don't know, but
that's right.
They certainly have an interest in the player.
Yeah, they certainly do. I think he's Cardiff again written all over it for some reason. I think if a player is available for loan, he's just come back and he's had a good loan spell where he's obviously enjoyed himself as well at the loan club. It's a no-brainer that he'd want to go in there. He'd want to go there again. Lazio is a good shout, I suppose. The thing that worries me with any player going up to the Italian league is it's not as high standard as the Premier League, obviously. If he's starting week in, week out with Cardiff in the Premiership, I think that's going to give him a lot better experience than it is than going to Lazio. Personally, I prefer him to stay in the Premier League, whether that be a Fulham, a Cardiff, Southampton, as we mentioned, or someone else, I think that would be great for him. But I 100% agree with you. We do need to be tying him down to a new contract, and then putting him out there on loan, and let the boy do his thing. Then if he can improve, and if he can, develop at the rate we want him to, then I think we have a good player on our books as well.
I was going to say he'd get Champions League experience at Lazio, but then I remembered the farcical way that they managed to cock that situation up in the last game of the season.
That's right. He'd get Europa League anyway, but again, look, I'd prefer him to stay in the Premiership, to be perfectly honest with you.
So before we finish up tonight, Dave, there's probably two more players there on that list that I'd like to have a little chat about. One of them being Adam Lallana, and from doing streams on YouTube and from chatting to people in WhatsApp and chatting to people on Twitter, he seems to be somebody that nobody doubts his footballing ability. I think that's fair to say. But a lot of people are having doubts about his fitness moving forward because of the season that he's just had. And I suppose other people are looking at him and thinking, well, he's got 2 years left of his Liverpool deal, so there's still a value on that player. And if we're looking to perhaps freshen up the squad, then an English player in a Premier League club, he's got to be worth 25, 30 million quid, even at 30 years of age.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but I don't see us cashing out on him. I certainly hope we don't anyway, because I like Adam Lallana. Extremely unlucky last season, but I know this is not a big thing to look at because I suppose look at his pre-season, but he has been working behind the doors during pre-season by, I suppose, the close season as well, and testament to him was when they done that lactate test where he finished second only behind James Milner, which, they're not easy, them things. I certainly, Jesus Christ, thinking of it makes me tired.
I used to hate them bleed tests when we went back to school.
Yeah, that's right, Jay. I can remember doing them with the guy as well. They were horrible. But to finish second behind James Milner, that's a hell of an achievement in itself. I think the lad is the ultimate professional footballer. I think he's a very intelligent footballer as well, and he suits Klopp's system. When Klopp came in, didn't he say that Adam Lallana was the first player who got how I want to play? He understands the gegenpress. He understands how to press, not only how to press, but when to press. When is the correct time to press? I think it'll have to take a really serious offer for Liverpool or Klopp to think about selling him. He's good around the dressing room. He is one of them influential players around the dressing room as well. He's best friends with Jordan Henderson, the captain. He was unlucky last season with injuries, but for me, no, he doesn't go anywhere.
Do you know what I think possibly saves his Liverpool career? I think the injury to Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and the fact that Chambo's out until November, December time possibly saves Adam Lallana at Liverpool, because it allows Jurgen Klopp to see how he gets on over that 6-month period. If he can prove his fitness, brilliant. You've got 18 months left on his contract. You try and tie him down to a new contract in January, increase it by another couple of years. If he doesn't, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain gets back to fitness, then, in January you possibly look at moving Adam Lallana on. 18 months left on his deal. There's still a few quid to be got there.
Absolutely, 100%. I completely agree with you there, yeah. I actually don't, even, let's say if we sold him in January, I still don't see him, I don't see Klopp sending him to a Premier League club. I could see Lallana being out, the likes of Spain or something like that, or Italy. Not Italy, sorry, but definitely Spain. You could see him up there trying to give it a go if he was to be sold. I certainly hope we don't send him to a Premier League club, because I think he's very good. But it's a great shout. I think if Oxlade-Chamberlain was fit, and but I'm just on that as well, sorry, it's great to see Ox back in training. I
love Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I really do.
Same as that, man. Same as that. He, the boy's only 24, 20. Is he 24, 25? But he's still a kid. His attitude is immense. He's English as well, which is good for the core at Liverpool Football Club. But yeah, I really do agree with you 100% there. If Ox was fit and raring to go for pre-season, what kind of conversation would we be having about Adam Lallana now?
And finally, the last player that I want to have a little chat about, and it's somebody actually who's contracted to 2022, so still a full 4 years left on his contract, is young Ben Woodburn. He didn't possibly come through as much last season as we would have been expecting from his introduction the season before. I know he had a few injuries throughout the year, but what are you expecting from Ben Woodburn this year?
I do see him being loaned out. And I think we mentioned last night as well. I think the likes of Celtic would be a good place for him, where he could really express himself in a league that's obviously not next to near as good as enough. Probably the league he's in now, the under-23, is the Scottish Scottish equivalent. To be perfectly honest with you, but Ben Woodburn is a good player. But I made a point, and I don't know how true it is, and I was just thought of maybe this is the way the club are doing it. Is obviously Ben Woodburn, let's say the season before last, was kind of, was he in the front three, let's say, or was he playing as a striker, or a kind of a winger? Whereas maybe Klopp has said to him, "Look, we don't see you breaking through the first team and the position you're in. What we're going to do is put you in the under-23s, have a full season playing more as an attacking midfielder, and having that gap between, let's say, the front three and the middle three, and get used to that position. See how you feel in it. We think you can do it. And then look, come, let's say this season, now the 18-19 season, you will get your chance." But I think with who we're signing, as I said, look, if we're looking to get Fekir and Shaqiri as well, of course that's going to stagnate his progression into the first team. But I do see him staying at the club. Of course, look, he does have 4 years left in the deal, which is great. He put was it a long-term deal last November or the November before that? So there's a future for Ben Woodburn at Liverpool Football Club. He needs to grow out a bit, I suppose, get a bit stronger. But he's a very intelligent lad, footballing wise, and good luck to him. But yeah, I can see him being loaned out this summer, to be honest with you.
If we were to let it be known that we're looking to loan him out, Dave, I can imagine that there will be a queue of clubs to take Ben Woodburn, because it's known that the guy's a talent. And as you said, sometimes with the best will in the world, it's just not possible for these young players to get through a football clubs. I think a great example of that is probably Marco Grujic. I don't think there's many who doubt that he will become a very good footballer. But where we are now, if Marco Grujic had came to Liverpool 4 years ago, he probably would have gotten his chance. But the progression under Jurgen Klopp in the few years he's been here, and where we are now, Champions League finalists last year, looking to close the gap on Manchester City and make a real assault on the Premier League title this year, we can't really afford to drop any points. We can't afford to, perhaps as much as we'd like to, blood these youngsters in regularly. So unless, of course, it's somebody like Trent who's kicking the door down, or opportunity arises when we picked up an injury to Kleiny and Trent came in and hit the ground running. But Ben, as much as we all agree he's a very talented footballer, I mean, getting near that front three, or even back up to that front three, or to possibly come in and take Fekir's position if Fekir signs, I mean, it's asking a lot of the young man.
It certainly is, yeah. And you made a point there where we want to be pushing on as well. I think pushing on to an extent, the draws we had last season, I think we had 12 draws last season. Everton had less, Leicester had less, Palace and Bournemouth had less. We had the same amount of draws as West Ham and Burnley. If we can convert them 1-pointers into 3-pointers, and I'd say turn that 12 into maybe a 7 or an 8, that's going to push us well up the table. And I don't think Ben Woodburn in a team like this now, we can't afford that luxury to have Ben Woodburn coming in. So I think hence why he will be on loan, probably for the whole of the 18-19 season. But again, where does he go? Is it going to be? I'm hoping it would be, a good high-end championship club. Maybe a Derby County or something like that. Frank Lampard's in there now.
Did you make a shout for Leeds actually last night?
It wasn't me. Was it Connor? It was, yeah. Connor made a shout for Leeds. I said Celtic. I think Celtic would be a good place for him to spend a season. Excuse me, on loan. Just as I said, with the league, I think he'll get to express himself a lot more. And of course, Brendan Rodgers doesn't mind starting youngsters if they're good enough. So that's where we are with him, I think, is my honest opinion. I hope he's not in the under-23s next season, because I think he's coming above that level now, but he's not yet first team.
I also wonder how much Rhian Brewster's new contract situation and him committing his future to Liverpool Football Club and the pathway that Klopp has to develop for him into the first team, how much that might play into what happens with Ben Woodburn.
I think it plays, because he has 4 years left on a deal, so I don't think there's any panic in that situation. And I think if Ben Woodburn really dug his heels in and said, look, I'm not interested in going on loan. I don't see a future for myself here. I want to go and get first team football. Then what would you get for Ben Woodburn as well?
You'd have to demand silly money, though, to be fair. You would. You really would be wanting silly money, because you're talking about a player there who has the capabilities to be as good as, I don't know, most number 10s or wide forwards in this league, possibly.
And he's not an under 23 player nationally or an under 21 player nationally. He's a full capped Welsh international
who's going to be learning from Ryan Giggs as well. Like, I mean, if you were to want somebody there to teach you how to play your role, I mean, Ryan Giggs would be perfect.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And with Gareth Bale there as well, you have two. Well, you have one decent role model in life experiences, but we won't talk about the rest about Giggs. But as a football player, he was one of the best there was, and he can certainly, teach young Woodburn a thing about being a winger or being, an inside forward or whatever you want to call it. And as I said, with the likes of Gareth Bale there as well, he certainly has two good footballing mentors.
Dave, I think we're going to have to leave it there for this week. I think we've gone through all the transfer news that we can possibly round up. We're going to hopefully be back, guys, later on in the week with another transfer update podcast. I can't honestly remember if I told you guys, but we've recently just been accepted onto Spotify. So now all of our podcasts are available on Spotify. So if you're a Spotify user, go on there, follow Anfield Agenda, and enjoy the podcast on there. But lastly, Dave, one thing that we've done a lot lately is we've moved over and we've kind of moved into the whole YouTube side of things. And we seem to be doing almost nightly streams on there with Anfield Agenda. And we've been pretty well received there. And it's been a very enjoyable experience.
Absolutely love it. The guys who come back are absolutely brilliant. So thank you if they listen to this as well. It's been a pleasure chatting with you and answering your questions, and also more importantly, and I think you back me up in this, Craig, learning from them as well. We do have some serious, good, knowledgeable people who come into that stream, and I love learning, and I love certainly learning about football. It's all I know. And for anyone else who is on the pod who hasn't joined, give us a go on that as well, because it's a lot more interactive. And I personally, I love doing the pods, but I love doing the live streams as well, because it is that fear of the unknown. What are you going to get asked, and who's going to be on it tonight? So yeah, it's fantastic, and thanks for everyone who listens to us and interacts with us as well.
So if YouTube is your thing, if you're a regular YouTube user, don't forget to subscribe to the Anfield Agenda YouTube account. We'll be doing watch-alongs when the season starts, so I'll be on there most of the time, reacting to games in real time, having a phone in with you guys afterwards to get your immediate reactions to what's after happening, and lots more interesting content. Until next week, guys, or later on in the week when we do another transfer pod. Thank you so much to Dave. Thank you to you guys for listening, and we will talk to you soon. Up the Reds.